Well, you may see higher prices for popular drugs like Ozempic, Botox, and the cancer drug Keytruda pretty soon.
President Donald Trump is planning to implement a 15% tariff on medicines imported from the European Union.
Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson breaks down the impact on your wallet.
What's your date of birth?
For 30 years, pharmacist Thad Schumacher has asked that question. But after a flurry of tariff headlines, the questions have gotten a little more complicated.
We have people coming in asking about it, and we don't have answers.
This month, President Donald Trump threatened 200% tariffs on imported medicines. Last weekend, he committed to a much lower 15% tariff on medicine imported from the EU. A White House spokesperson telling me, quote, President Trump is committed to safeguarding our national and economic security. Nothing should be deemed final, however, until officially announced by President Trump.
It makes it really hard to plan for the next 6 months or the next year when it comes to purchasing stuff.
Schumacher is the owner of the independent Fitchburg Family Pharmacy.
When I think of adding another layer of cost to an item, I fear that that's going to lead to more shortages, and it's going to lead to higher prices.
And this stuff has only happened now.
That's David Creeling, who's had a 40-year career studying the pharmaceutical industry.
We at the U.S. are very dependent on international producers.
I mean, how many pharmaceuticals are imported from abroad?
Almost all of them, yeah.
A White House official tells me that 15% tariff is agreed to. But it could be a while. The official telling me the tariff could be phased in over the next year or two. From the Wisconsin State Capitol, Vanessa Kelson.